Hey guys, today we'll be talking about why there is a bite in the Apple logo. Over the years, several theories have advanced as to why the Apple on Apple logo has a bite. It was about time to get this an end, and thankfully, this end came from the most reliable source, the logo designer himself. But before looking at the answer, let's have a look at some of the most dominant, and indeed, creative theories. The most romantic one has to do with Alan Turing, the man who laid the foundations for the modern-day computer, pioneered research into artificial intelligence, and unlocked German wartime codes. At the end of his life, Turing was depressed as he was feeling unrecognized.
To thank you for watching this video, we're offering you an absolutely free training webinar. Do you want to learn the secret of improving all aspects of your life and unlocking what you're really capable of? The legendary Bob Proctor spent over 57 years learning this one thing and is hosting a free webinar where he reveals what he's learned and what actually works. He'll teach you the law of compensation, a secret only the mega wealthy know of but not taught in our educational system, and the impression of increase, the law of laws that will increase areas in all aspects of your life, whether it be in health, relationships, or wealth. Right now, the first 200 people to use the link below will get access to this free webinar. Now, let's get back to the video.
He was facing jail for gross indecency, and he was mocked for his homosexuality. Unable to cope with these difficulties, on June 7, 1954, he died by biting into an apple he had laced with cyanide. Legend has it that when young Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne started Apple, they wanted to pay tribute to Turing, so they added the bite to the Apple logo as a reference. This myth is so well known that even Apple employees believe it is true. Another common myth has to do with the apple representing knowledge, as in the story of Adam and Eve, or being a reference to the falling apple that led Sir Isaac Newton to the concept of gravity. But the truth is more prosaic. Rob Janoff, the artist who designed the logo, dismissed all the theories, and despite being charmed by the Turing story, he said he was unaware of the story at the time. "I'm afraid it didn't have a thing to do with it," he said. "It's a wonderful urban legend." Janoff says that Steve Jobs didn't give him a specific brief for the logo design, and the reason for the bite is crystal clear. It's there for scale, he says, so the small Apple logo still looks like an apple and not a cherry. When he later learned by a colleague that bites were the foundation stones of computing, Janoff said it was a small happy coincidence. In 1954, computer scientist and brilliant mathematician Alan Turing died after biting into an apple laced with cyanide, a real-life version of Snow White and the poison apple. It's long been assumed that it was suicide, perhaps because he was frustrated and overwhelmed by the chemical castration the British government forced upon him after he admitted to having a sexual relationship with a man, which was against the law at the time. Recently, some have speculated that Turing's death by apple wasn't necessarily intentional. He was known to be careless with his experiments, and accidentally inhaling cyanide or accidentally placing an apple in a cyanide puddle wouldn't have been outside of the realm of possibilities. Still, another theory is that British security services considered Turing a high security risk because he was gay, and may have sabotaged him rather than risk that Turing would spill government secrets or defect and work for the enemy. Whatever happened, the fact remains that a half-eaten apple was found by Turing's bedside. Fast forward about 2 decades, to a few guys making personal computers in a garage. They had a name for their product and were now in need of a logo. The men were aware of Turing's contributions to computers and coding and decided to honor him and comment on his persecution by removing a single byte from the Apple graphic they had picked to represent their company. And that's how we got the iconic Apple logo on the back of all of our phones, computers, and iPods. If you're curious about the multicolored stripes on early versions of the logo, there's a very practical reason for those too. The Apple II was the first home or personal computer that could reproduce images on the monitor in color, so it represents color bars on the screen, Janoff has explained. But that's not to say that the idea of paying homage to Turing is something the creators of Apple were against. When actor Stephen Fry once asked his good friend Steve Jobs if the famous logo was based on Turing, Jobs replied, "God, we wish it were." In a press conference in 1981, there was a question from a journalist about why Jobs chose the name Apple. To this question, he answered, "I love apples and like to eat them." But the main idea behind Apple is to bring simplicity to the public in the most sophisticated way possible. And that's it, nothing else.
To thank you for watching this video, we're offering you an absolutely free training webinar. Have you ever wondered how to end procrastination and self-sabotage so you can unleash your full potential to live the life you deserve? #1 best-selling author and high-performance coach Peter Sage is hosting a free webinar where he'll teach you how to increase your wealth with less time and struggle, and also how to hyper-boost your growth and success so you can finally break out of any rut you find yourself in. Right now, Peter and his team are offering a free $100 gift to anyone who doesn't find his webinar as the best use of their time within the last 5 years. Now, let's get back to the video.
The fruit of creation, Apple. It was simple but strong. Join us in this article as we discuss Apple logo evolution. It all started with a fruit. Despite carrying the name Apple, the company's first logo did not describe the physical shape of an apple. The first logo was created by Ronald Wayne, one of which co-founded Apple in the early days of 1976, who wanted to represent the law of gravity that is inspired by an apple. The first image to represent the computer company was Isaac Newton, the man who revolutionized science with his discoveries on gravity. How did he figure it out? An apple fell on his head. Apple's first logo was a depiction of this event, with Newton sitting under an apple tree. The logo included a quote from William Wordsworth, a romantic English poet. Newton, a mind forever voyaging through strange seas of thought. The poem was written on the frame of the logo. However, this logo's use did not last very long. Steve Jobs, who undertook many roles at Apple for the business of design, decided he was going to explore something new for the logo, something different. He believed that the original was too old-fashioned and considered difficult to be used to reproduce an image in a small size, and the logo was judged to be in harmony with the modern Apple computers that impressed. Steve Jobs wanted the Apple name and logo to be fused as one. Steve Jobs soon hired a graphic designer by the name of Rob Janoff, who then created the now classic and world-renowned logo of the bitten apple. Jobs quickly threw out the old Newton logo, and Apple's logo was fully established and used by the end of the company's first year. When Rob Janoff was scheduled to have an initial meeting with Steve Jobs in early 1977, Apple Computer was still in the startup stages and nowhere near the heights of the mega company we know today, and the company had only been operating for less than a year. Apple's offices were based in a local strip mall, consisting of just the three partners, Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Mike Markkula. The initial identity development was to coincide with the introduction of the brand's first personal computer, the Apple II. The entire design process with the upstart client only took about 2 weeks. After the agency's initial meeting, Rob Janoff went to work developing the Apple icon based on his examination of physical cross-sections of real apples. In fact, when asked how he approached designing the Apple logo, Rob Janoff replied, "It was very simple, really. I just bought a bunch of apples, put them in a bowl, and drew them for a week or so to simplify the shape." A single design illustration was then created of a rainbow-striped apple. Janoff's original Apple logo design contained a rainbow spectrum, a nod towards Apple's computer Apple II, which was the world's first computer with a color display. The logo debuted a little before the computer's launch. Janoff has said that there was no rhyme or reason behind the placement of the colors themselves, noting that Jobs wanted to have green at the top because that's where the leaf was. According to Janoff, the bite in the Apple logo was originally implemented so that people would know that it represented an apple and not a cherry tomato. It also lent itself to a nerdy play on words, bite or bite, a fitting reference for a tech company. The Apple design with multicolored stripes was promptly approved for production by Steve Jobs. The artwork was then developed for print advertisements, signage, hardware emblems, and software labels on cassette tapes, all in preparation for the launch of the Apple II computer in April 1977 at the West Coast Computer Fair. For the next 20 years, the now famous rainbow version logo adorned all Apple products, from its computer products to the Newton PDA. The only concept ever presented to Apple was immediate success. The multicolored Apple logo had been in use for 22 years before it was axed by Steve Jobs, less than a year after his return to Apple in 1997. In its place was a new logo that did away with the colorful stripes and replaced it with a more modern monochromatic look that has taken on a variety of sizes and colors over the past few years. The overall shape of the logo, however, remains unchanged from its original inception 33 years ago. The bitten apple logo may have had quite a history whose parts remain unknown to people. However, this has not stopped the logo from being recognized all over the world. In fact, the company does not even have to print its name alongside the logo. The logo itself already tells it all. Former Apple executive Jean-Louis Gassi called the logo the symbol of lust and knowledge. The Apple logo symbolizes our use of their computers to obtain knowledge and, ideally, enlighten the human race. Thanks for watching. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Goodbye.